Imagine stepping into a world, right? The mists, they just never lift. There's this ancient evil running the show, and every single choice you make could be the difference between, well, life and something arguably much worse.
Yeah, undeath in Barovia isn't exactly peaceful retirement.
Exactly. That's the world we're talking about, Barovia. Is pure Gothic horror, constant dread. Hope is, well, hope is thin on the ground there.
Very thin. And we're zooming in today on one particular town, Vallaki, which has just gone through something pretty intense.
It really has. It's like a microcosm of the whole realm's despair, isn't it? You're
Yeah.
about to see just how fast the town can fall, how its freedoms just evaporate, and how people get, well, broken.
Mm-hmm. So today we're doing a deep dive into a really specific, really rich set of sources. We've got detailed accounts from Session 13. This is from a group of adventurers trying to navigate this bleak landscape.
And these aren't just scribbled notes. We have their full session reports, like the raw, visceral details and even verbatim logs from their game master. It gives us this unfiltered look right into the story as it's happening.
Yeah, it's like a window, isn't it? Full of desperate choices, chilling stuff, encounters with some truly nasty creatures.
So our mission for this deep dive is basically to pull out the biggest moments, the most unsettling details, and what it all means.
Right. We want you to get a quick but, thorough understanding of the dark forces moving the pieces, how these heroes are pushing back, and the grip that Strahd von Zarovich has on everything. It just keeps tightening.
It really does. It's about more than just the play-by-play. It's about the implications. What does it all signify for this cursed place and everyone stuck there?
Okay, so let's start where things often start in Barovia, with Strahd making a move, an unwelcome invitation.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is how he does it. Strahd, he's the apex predator, right?
Totally.
He doesn't need to roar. A whisper, a polite note, that's enough to show he's in charge. He sets the stage, lays out the terms, and just lets the psychological pressure cook.
That's a great way to put it. So our adventurers, they're kind of holed up in the Blue Water Inn in Vallaki. They think of it as their borrowed sanctuary.
A borrowed sanctuary. I like that description. It sounds safe, but it's really just a cage with slightly nicer furniture offering this illusion of security.
Right. And then, bam, a messenger shows up. The sources say this guy has a face pale as the mists, like a ghost delivering bad news.
Or worse than bad news, something insidious. And it's a letter, sealed with Strahd's own sigil. No mistaking who it's from.
And the letter itself, oh, it's a piece of work. The notes call it honeyed words, but you can feel this chill of civility coming off it.
Like cold metal wrapped in velvet. It's polite, technically a summons, but it's coming from the devil himself. That's not just dinner, is it? It's a test.
Absolutely. And the sources quote it directly. It's worth hearing. My friends, know that it is I who have brought you to this land, my home, and know that I alone can release you from it.
Oof. Straight out of the gate, I own you.
Pretty much. He continues, I bid you dine at my castle so that we can meet in civilized surroundings. Your passage here will be a safe one. I await your arrival. And it's signed, your host, Strahd von Zarovich.
Your host? The sheer arrogance.
It's calculated, isn't it? This isn't just him showing off his power. It's that psychological mastery you mentioned.
Yeah, he's not demanding. He's inviting them into a trap. He's asserting control through this terrifying politeness, basically screaming, you have no choice.
Exactly. He makes it crystal clear. I brought you here, only I can let you go. So right away, he's positioned himself as both their jailer and their only, potential liberator.
That's a horrible paradox, isn't it?
Yeah.
Designed to just break their spirits before they even get to the castle.
It tells you right away this isn't just going to be about swords and spells. It's a battle for their minds, their wills, maybe their souls, orchestrated by someone who genuinely seems to enjoy the torment.
So this invitation lands. A test, as you said. How do they handle it? Stuck in their sanctuary, getting a dinner invite from the devil. Did they just crumble?
Well, that's the surprising part. Their response was defiant, a collective not yet.
Not yet. I like that. It's not a never, but it's a not on your terms. But okay, let's dig into that. The session notes must have more in the debate, right? How did each of them react individually?
Oh yeah, the notes are great here. They capture the internal struggle. So you have Traxidor, he's the half-elf cleric, life domain. His whole thing is life, healing, and he immediately flashes back to Yesterhill, remembering Strahd's presence there.
Yesterhill.
Yeah.
That was bad, wasn't it? With the tree monster?
Horrific.
Yeah.
And Traxidor describes Strahd's involvement not as a fight, but as cold amusement. Like Strahd was just toying with them like cats with mice. So for Traxidor, facing this power that could just snuff out life, it was a deep threat to his whole purpose, his faith. His caution was real, born from seeing Strahd's power firsthand.
Makes sense. Who else?
Then there's Radley Fullthorn, human fighter, but an Eldritch Knight, so he's got that mix of muscle and magic.
Right, the pragmatic one.
Yeah, and true to form, he throws in some dark humor, starts joking about the wine selection at Castle Ravenloft, facing down this absolute dread with sarcasm.
It's a coping mechanism, I guess.
Yeah.
Or maybe just grim acceptance.
Could be either. It's how he deals. Then you've got Daermon Cobain, the half-elf rogue, swashbuckler. The notes say he was unreadable as ever, just stood near the window, quietly flicking a silver coin.
Ah, the rogue.
Yeah.
Always watching, assessing. His silence probably speaks volumes. Calculating the odds, maybe?
Exactly. He's not showing his hand. But then there's Sören Ironwood. He's the Aasimar Paladin, Oath of Vengeance. Radiant Vengeance is literally in his description.
Okay, so I'm guessing he wasn't keen on dinner.
Keen is not the word. He basically scoffed at the idea. Pure, righteous indignation. Said something like, if the Count wants to eat with them, he should descend from his rotting throne and come to them.
Wow. Okay, so fiery defiance there. That's his oath talking. No intimidation, no playing by Strahd's rules.
He's the direct confrontation guy, but despite these, different personal takes, the caution, the sarcasm, the silence, the fury, so they all landed on the same page.
Not yet.
Not yet. They refused. The notes mention the taste of Winter Splinter's bark. That giant, horrible tree creature from Yester Hill was still on their blades. That fight was fresh, a victory, but a brutal one.
So this refusal, it's not just saying no to dinner. It's a statement, we're not your pawn.
Exactly. And probably, almost definitely, it ramps up Strahd's interest in them. They're not just new toys anymore. They're toys that talk back.
Which leads to the chilling question. What happens when you poke the bear? Especially when the bear owns the forest, the cave, and, well, your soul.
The consequences, they come fast, and they're brutal. Vallaki, their supposed safe haven, it starts its slide into darkness almost immediately.
Right. The morning after the invitation, the sources describe the dawn as dull and thin as a blade. No real sun, just that perpetual Barovian gloom, gray dawn filtering through mist, sets the mood perfectly, doesn't it?
It does. And then they hear it, the sound of hammers. Outside the Blue Water Inn, hammers nailing on wood echoed like a funeral drum.
Okay, that's ominous. What were they nailing up?
Proclamations. And worse, they were being read aloud by townsfolk described as cowed and bloodied, still reeling from the massacre at the Festival of the Blazing Sun.
Ah, the festival. That was another disaster. So the town's already traumatized, vulnerable.
Precisely. And who's issuing these proclamations? Lady Fiona Wachter. Remember her, the conspirator lurking in the background?
Yeah, playing a long game.
Well, game over. She's now openly assumed the office of Burgomaster. And get this, in open fealty to Count Strahd.
Oh, wow. So no more pretense. It's not just a power shift. It's Vallaki openly bending the knee to Strahd.
And she claims she took office by the will of the people who threw off the yoke of the inept Baron Vargas Vlahovic. It's such a twisted narrative, blaming the victims of Strahd's terror for their own quote-unquote liberation into something even worse.
A darker servitude. So what were these edicts? How bad did it get? How quickly?
It's a chilling list, a spiral into tyranny. First, and this one hits hard, the further worship of the Morning Lord is declared heretical and is prohibited.
No. Wow, the Morning Lord is like the only symbol of light they have left, isn't it?
Pretty much. The sources call it the last fragile bulwark against the darkness.
Yeah.
So this decree, it just crushes spiritual hope, isolates people completely in their despair. It's a blow right to the soul of the town.
Okay, that's bad. What else?
She immediately militarizes things. Her loyal retainer, Ernst Larnick, he's now the Reeve, commanding all the surviving town militia.
So the town guard now works for her. And by extension, Strahd.
Yep. Not protection, it's control. Turning defenders into oppressors. And then there's the secret police.
Oh, great.
Establishes an anonymous order of protectors.
Right.
Basically, Vallaki's civic wardens and spiritual inquisitors, demanding unquestioning obedience, instant paranoia, neighbors suspecting neighbors, total breakdown of trust.
So you can't worship freely, the guards are against you, and there are skies everywhere. Sounds lovely.
And it gets grimmer. Dignity stripped away. The bodies of all slain townsfolk are to be brought to a mass grave north of town, piled up like so much refuse.
Dehumanizing. No proper mourning, just disposal. Shows utter contempt for life.
Absolutely. Then restrictions. All persons must obtain permission from the Reeve before leaving Vallaki.
Trapped. Vallaki's now a prison.
A prison with a curfew. Everyone inside before dark. The night belongs to Strahd's regime now.
Okay, this is a complete lockdown. Is there anything else?
Yeah.
Because this is already terrifying.
One more. And it's perhaps the most sinister. The Society of Vallaki's Maidens.
That sounds deceptively quaint.
Deceptively is the word. Every eligible young woman is forcibly inducted under Watcher's watchful matronly eye. The notes call it a mockery of protection. More like cattle counted before slaughter.
Oh, God. For Strahd, is that the implication?
It heavily hints at a sinister purpose, maybe for Strahd, yeah.
Yeah.
The edict says all marriageable young women will attend the Society's inaugural meeting to affirm their suitability. Suitability for what? It hangs there, really ominous. A fate worse than servitude seems likely.
This is chilling. A complete takeover. Spiritual, physical, social,
Yeah.
even down to controlling young women's lives for some dark purpose.
And just to hammer it home, Radley sees a wanted poster for Victor, the old Baron's son. He rips it down. Victor's a fugitive now. Isaac Strasny, the Baron's monstrous enforcer, also hunted. The old regime is being actively erased. Only Watchers in Strahd's dark future is allowed.
So the party witnesses all this. How do they react? What do they see walking through this newly oppressed town?
They walk through what the notes call Vallaki's burned veins, scorched houses where Strahd's minions literally drove families out into the streets.
Deliberate terror tactics. Confirmed by townsfolk.
Yep. Townsfolk confirm some fires were set just to flush people out. The charred wood, the smell of smoke. Constant reminders of the violence and the cost of defiance.
And the mass grave. Do they see that?
They did. At the north end of town, a great pyre burned. A pillar of greasy black smoke, consuming bodies into cinder and whispers.
Oh, the imagery.
It's stark. Children staring into the flames, fathers pushing carts with wrapped bodies, just widespread devastation, unceremonious death. Life is cheap. Death is meaningless under this new rule.
It makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How fast an entire town's social fabric, its freedoms, can just unravel. How quickly tyranny takes root.
Yeah.
What would you do in that kind of suffocating environment? It's terrifying to consider.
Absolutely terrifying. And amidst all this grim reality, this desolation, the adventurers are looking for answers, trying to understand what's happening, and they stumble into, well, Blinsky's toys.
Blinsky's toys, right?
Right.
Described as an unlikely crucible of secrets and mockery. Sounds about right for Barovia.
It really is. It's this place where childhood innocence gets twisted into something grotesque.
And they meet the man himself, Get-Off Blinsky.
They do. The Wizard of Tiny Wonders greets them with manic glee, wearing a jester's cap. He's got a monkey named Piccolo on his shoulder, and his tagline,
Is no fun, is no Blinsky.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. It perfectly captures that forced, slightly insane cheerfulness you find in Barovia. Like finding joy in the morbid because there's nothing else.
Exactly. He's a living example of the Barovian psyche under pressure. So they're looking around his shop, shelves full of sad-eyed marionettes and morbid dioramas, and then Sören sees something.
What is it?
Something that makes his celestial blood run cold. It's a doll, the spitting image of Irina Koliana.
Oh, wow. Okay. For Sören, the paladin trying to protect her, that must have been a shock. Seeing her likeness as this lifeless toy.
A really chilling moment, like a premonition maybe, a hint that Strahd's obsession, his reach gets everywhere, even into a toy shop.
So what does Blinsky say? How does he explain having Irina dolls?
He kind of half giggles, half sobs, which says a lot about his mental state and reveals they were commissions from Isaac Strasny.
Isaac, the Baron's former enforcer, the one with the monster arm.
That's the one. Apparently, Isaac kept coming back, demanding more dolls, but each one was never quite right. This was Isaac's price for letting Blinsky live, a grotesque payment for a grotesque obsession.
So it wasn't Strahd commissioning them, it was Isaac, but still focused on Irina.
Right. Which is disturbing in its own way. Radley, being Radley, actually buys the doll, trades coin for it, prioritizing intel over comfort, you know?
Yeah, that sounds like him. Getting grimly practical.
And Blinsky says he made dozens of them for Isaac. Always imperfect. It just highlights this deep, disturbing fixation Isaac had, which is horrifyingly similar to Strahd's own obsession with Irina. It's like this malevolent theme echoing through the town.
A shared madness almost. What else did they notice in the shop?
They saw a puppet that looked like Strahd.
Of course he has a Strahd puppet.
Right. And when they ask, Blinsky just casually says he makes toys for every child's proclivities. Like, oh yeah, some kids like vampires. What's the big deal? It shows how normalized Strahd's evil presence is, even in kids' toys.
That's deeply unsettling. Yep. Did Blinsky offer anything else? Any useful info amidst the creepy toys?
Actually, yes. He starts babbling about Lydia Petrovna, the Baroness who was hanged. Turns out he knew her as a child, and she was the sister of Father Lucian Petrovich, the priest at St. Andrew's Church.
Okay, a connection there. Does it lead anywhere?
It might. Blinsky says their family line goes way back to Tasha Petrovna, a priestess of the Morning Lord before Strahd even became a vampire.
Whoa. Okay, that's interesting. Pre-Strahd history.
And here's the kicker. Rumor has it Tasha Petrovna's tomb is in Castle Ravenloft itself.
Seriously? In the belly of the beast?
Yep. So this little tidbit, dropped by a half-mad toy maker, it's this potential sliver of hope, a connection to ancient history, maybe forgotten knowledge, something that could help them fight Strahd.
Or it could be just another lure, another trap. Come into my castle, adventurers.
Exactly, or just another grave waiting to swallow them whole. Hope in Barovia always comes with teeth, doesn't it?
Seems like it. How did the encounter end?
Blinsky just waves them out with his usual creepy squeal. Is no fun, is no Blinsky.
Leaving them with dolls, secrets, and a lot more questions? That shop really is a microcosm of Barovia, isn't it?
Yeah.
Innocence twisted, obsession made manifest, hope tangled up with death.
Perfectly put. And the Irina dolls especially, that thread connecting Izek and Strahd, it just paints this grim picture of pervasive, malevolent influence.
So after that dose of creepy, where do they head next? Still digging into Vallaki's rot.
Yep. They head to the manor of the dead Baron, Vargas Vallakovich. And it's exactly what you'd expect. Looted, defiled, vandalized, fine things already picked over by scavengers, shows how fast order breaks down, how the mighty...
And includes left amidst wreckage.
Well, they find one locked bedroom upstairs. Everything else is trash, but this one room is locked tight.
Interesting. How do they get in?
Radley. Armored shoulder meets locked door. He just batters it open. No time for finesse, I guess.
Getting things done. What's inside?
It's described as mostly Spartan, but there are empty wine bottles scattered around and more Irina dolls, just like the ones from Blinsky's.
No way. So Victor, the Baron's son, he was obsessed too.
Seems like it. It's not just a room. The notes call it a shrine to obsession and failure. It echoes Isaac's fixation. This repetition of the dolls is really chilling, like a leitmotif underscoring this pervasive darkness, this creepy fixation linked to Strahd.
Okay, that's deeply messed up. Did they find anything else in the manor?
Yeah, the attic. Surprisingly, it looked like looters had skipped it, maybe seemed too mundane, but the notes say it was worse than the chaos downstairs.
Worse how?
Family heirlooms, portraits just rotting in the rafters, a family's history decaying. And there's this narrow path through the junk leading to a heavy wooden door marked with a crude skull.
Subtle.
And a scratched warning, all is not well.
Okay, yeah, that's usually a bad sign, especially in Barovia.
Definitely. It signals something more personal, more dangerous. Forbidden secrets, maybe.
So who tries the door? Sören again.
Yeah.
He seems like the type.
Good guess. Sören steps up, tries the door, and bam! Glyph of warding. Arcane lightning slams into his chest.
Ouch. Did it stop him?
Not Sören. The notes say he just gritted his teeth against the pain, showed that paladin resolve, and tried again. Successfully opens it on the second go.
Tough guy. Okay, so what's behind door number 2? What was Victor hiding?
Victor's secret. A haphazard wizard's workshop. It's clearly amateur hour, not a pro setup.
What kind of stuff was in there? Weird experiments?
Pretty weird. 6 animated cat skeletons prowling the rafters, empty eye sockets gleaming, creepy.
Animated cat skeletons.
Right.
Normal hobbies.
And 3 small mannequins turned facing the wall like scolded children. Just bizarre, macabre, and childish at the same time. They also find this incomplete, badly sewn wizard's robe in a trunk.
So he was really trying to be a wizard. Maybe try to find a way out.
That seems to be the implication, especially given the biggest discovery. Under a scorched rug, they find a teleportation circle.
A way out. Finally.
Not so fast. Radley, with his Eldritch Knight training, takes one look and knows it's bad news. The runes are jagged, broken. He calls it a death sentence.
Oh, so not a way out, but a trap. Or just incompetent magic.
Lethally incompetent, it seems. The notes say there are footprints in soot and scorching around it, indicating someone else had already tried to use it, with catastrophic results.
You mean like they exploded? Or worse?
The notes don't explicitly say, but yeah, the implication is a terrible, messy end for anyone desperate enough to try this flawed circle. A chilling reminder of how dangerous untrained magic is here.
So the implications. Victor, the privileged son, was into some seriously dark, dangerous magic. Desperate to escape Barovia.
Seems very likely. It shows the depth of despair that pushes even the elite to such reckless acts. And his obsession with Irina, mirroring Isaac's, it paints this picture of a town drowning in these dark fixations, maybe seeded by Strahd himself. Victor's just this tragic figure, driven to extremes by the sheer hopelessness of it all.
Okay, so Vallaki is just layers upon layers of grim. With the immediate crisis of Watcher's rule established and the disturbing secrets of the Baron's family uncovered, did they shift focus back to the other big mystery, the bones of St. Andrew?
They did. Those relics were still missing, and they were crucial for, maybe restoring some sanctity to the church, or at least protecting it. So they head back to the graveyard next to the ruined church of St. Andrew.
And how do they plan to find clues in a graveyard, talk to the residents?
Sort of. Traxidor uses his divine magic, speak with dead.
Ah, classic cleric move. Who do they talk to?
They find the body of Miloi. Remember him? The grave robber. The notes describe him as barely out of boyhood. Just a kid, really.
Yeah, tragic. What does Maloja's spirit tell him?
He confesses, whispers via Traxidor, that Henrik van der Fort, the coffin maker, paid him to steal the bones.
Hendrik the coffin maker. Okay, a solid lead. Why did Milos do it?
To feed his starving siblings, he used the money for food. It just underlines the desperation in Vallaki, doesn't it? Kids robbing graves just to survive. Makes you question who the real villains are sometimes.
It really does. Even sacrilege becomes an act of survival.
Yeah.
So they have their lead, Henrik the coffin maker. What happens when they pay him a visit?
They arrive at the coffin shop. Front door's ajar. Already a bad sign.
Never a good sign.
Downstairs is just filled with coffins, stacked like cordwood. More big foreshadowing, maybe. The air smells like sawdust, but also something else, something rank.
Uh-oh. Where do they find Henrik? Or what's left of him?
Well, Daermon, being the sneaky one, checks upstairs first, finds a storeroom, lumber, tools, and half a dozen crates.
Crates. Anything weird about them?
Yeah, the crates have soil in them, and they've been burst open from within, dirt scattered everywhere.
Burst open from within, like something hatched.
Exactly. That's the chilling implication. Something non-human used these crates like coffins, but in reverse, like a grotesque nursery.
Okay, that's disturbing. What about Henrik?
The smell leads the rest of the party. That rank decay smell leads them to a back bedroom where, as the notes put it, horror had bloomed.
Oh boy, how bad.
Bad. Henrik's corpse is there, crumpled, eviscerated. His guts are described as being scrawled across the walls and ceiling, like some kind of horrible finger painting.
Jesus. Okay, that's graphic.
The air is thick with flies, just buzzing over the scene, and there are bloody handprints and footprints on the walls, even the ceiling.
A ceiling? How?
That's the clue, isn't it? Indicating his killers seem to defy gravity. Points straight to something non-human, something that can climb walls, stick to ceiling.
Vampire spawn. Had to be the things that hatched from the crates.
Seems incredibly likely. They hatched, killed Henrik, and presumably flew off.
Back to their master, maybe. And the bones, were they there?
Nope. Bones are gone. Only thing left is a bag of coins near the body. Henrik's payment, presumably, for his betrayal, his life, his soul.
So the spawn hatched, killed their helper, took the bones, and vanished. A deliberate, calculated horror show.
Yeah. A very disturbing birthplace for these creatures, hidden inside a mundane coffin shop. It just shows the kind of hidden evils operating beneath the surface.
And then there's Radley's reaction, isn't there? The notes mention something pretty stark.
Yeah. This is a moment Radley, apparently without much hesitation, bent down, sawed the head from Henrik's neck, and tossed it over her shoulder like a sack of potatoes.
Whoa. Okay. Just took his head. Why?
The notes describe it as having no reverence for traitors, just grim trophies. It's his moment of stark, maybe horrifying brutality.
Feels like a shift, doesn't it? For Radley, maybe for the whole party.
Yeah.
Taking a head as a trophy. That's not standard hero behavior.
Not at all. It shows how Barovia is maybe corroding them, hardening them. They're adapting, but the adaptation itself is brutal, cold pragmatism taking over.
And the notes say they left the body and told no one.
Yep. Left the corpse to molder, kept the head, kept it secret. They're operating outside normal morality now, embracing the grim reality of the place, sharing this dark secret, this burden.
It really makes you ask, what's the psychological toll? How much of their humanity are they sacrificing just to survive, let alone win? When do the heroes start looking like the monsters they fight?
That's the million gold piece question in Barovia, isn't it? So they get back to the Blue Water Inn, and now they have a new problem.
Hiding a severed head.
Right.
Can't exactly leave that lying around the tap room.
Exactly. The notes are clear. Danica Mardikov, the innkeeper, she's tough but fair. She would have pitched them into the street if she knew. So even as they get harder, darker, there are still lines they can't cross openly, not if they want to keep their allies.
So what's the vibe at the inn now, under Washer's rule?
It's unusually quiet. People are obeying the curfew. They're scared of the new civic wardens and inquisitors. Watchers' fear tactics are working. The oppression has settled in quickly.
Did they learn anything else there?
Sören asks Danica about Victor, the Baron's son they just investigated. She doesn't know much, calls him peculiar and reclusive, demanding and narcissistic. But her eyes, the notes say, suggested she wished she knew even less.
Yeah. Victor sounds like the kind of creepy nobody wants to know too much about.
Seems so. Later, though, they get a small moment of, well, not exactly relief, but maybe distraction. Rictavio joins them for supper.
Rictavio, the traveling bard. Or, maybe, as the notes hint, a monster hunter in motley.
Yeah, there's more to him than meets the eye, probably. He shares some brandy, from far-off Durkon, apparently, and he tells stories of other lands, places beyond the mists.
Ah, a glimpse of freedom.
For a second, yeah. They see the glimmer of what freedom might taste like before Barovia closed its jaws again. It's crucial, that little moment. Highlights the fear in Vallaki, the fleeting nature of any hope. Reminds them what they're fighting for, even if it feels impossible. A bittersweet taste of normal.
But that glimmer fades fast, doesn't it? The reality of Barovia always crashes back in.
Always. Morning comes, dull and thin as a blade, just like the day the edicts were posted. Time to leave Vallaki. They depart with the Mardikov's wagon, Adrian and Dag. There were Raven allies hauling wine towards Kresk, heading west.
Okay, moving on. But they still have the head, right? How are the Mardikovs feeling about that?
Not great. This is where that friction really shows up. Adrian and Dag keep casting nervous glances at Radley's grisly prize. They're clearly uncomfortable.
I mean, yeah, understandable.
And then Sören makes it worse. He apparently just starts flaying the skin from the skull like he was butchering a deer right there on the wagon.
Oh, come on, Sören. Read the room. Or the wagon, I guess.
Seriously. The Mardikovs just balk. They threaten to dump the wine right there on the road and go home. Their trust in the party is visibly cracking like old oak.
This is bad. Their actions, their grin trophies, are alienating their allies. It shows the cost, doesn't it? How far can they push this before they lose everyone? And maybe lose themselves?
It's a huge question hanging over them, and just as that tension is peaking, they encounter trouble on the road.
Of course they do. It's the old Svalich road. What happens?
3 ragged strangers approach from the east, look like peasants, limping, begging for silver.
Okay, classic encounter setup. What's their story?
They claim their villages are being tormented by were creatures, and they need silver to make weapons or tools.
Were creatures. Interesting. Given their allies were ravens, how does the party respond?
They warn them off Vallaki. Tell them it's no sanctuary now, describe Watcher's new rules, the fear, basically, don't go there.
Seems reasonable. How do the peasants take the news?
Their gratitude curdles like sour milk, their faces twist, and that transformation.
Oh no, they're the were creatures.
Yep, right before the party's eyes. Bones cracking, fur tearing through flesh. They turn into werewolves, wolves with human eyes and human hunger.
Ambush. A brutal, horrifying transformation scene right there on the road.
Yeah.
Danger really is everywhere, often disguised.
Absolutely shatters any illusion of safety. Adrian and Dag immediately react, whip the horses, yell, run, trying to get the wagon out of there.
But the adventurers, do they run?
Not this group. They stand their ground. Sören's axe flares with divine light. Radley brings up his blade and arcane shield. Daermon's rapier flashes. Traxidor unleashes radiant bolts. It's immediate pitched combat under that pale sky. Fur and claw versus steel and holy magic.
How does the fight go?
They manage to take down 2 of the werewolves. Steel and Sanctity win the day against 2 of them. Their bodies fall onto the road.
Well, you said there were 3.
Right. The third one slips away, transforms fully into a wolf, just melts into the forest, vanishes like a phantom among the trees, gets away.
Okay, so a partial victory, but a reminder of constant danger. And another loose end, potentially. This whole encounter just hammers home the peril, doesn't it? Even a simple journey is life-threatening, and it highlights that growing rift with their allies, forced by their own grim choices. What are they becoming?
That's the question that echoes as they continue on. So as we wrap up this deep dive, where do things stand? The wine barrels are still creaking towards Kresk, a new destination, but 0 guarantees of safety.
Henrik's skull is still in Sören's pack, isn't it? Dripping, probably. A heavy, gruesome reminder of their choices, the darkness they're wading through, maybe even embracing.
Absolutely. And the bones of Santandral. Still lost, maybe being used for something horrible back in Vallaki or Ravenloft, an unresolved quest, a lingering threat among many.
Meanwhile, Lady Wachter rules Vallaki firmly in Strahd's name. Her tyranny is just the newest layer of oppression, proving how quickly things can get worse, even in Barovia.
And Strahd himself, he just waits, patient as the grave. His dinner table is still set, metaphorically or maybe literally. His invitation, his power, it just hangs over everything, silent, pervasive.
In Barovia, the fog always hides something nasty. The sun is never quite bright enough.
Never. So it leaves us with this thought, doesn't it? What does it really mean for people, for heroes, to actively fight an evil that seems all-powerful, especially when you know every step forward might just be tightening the noose, trapping you further in its web?
And maybe more importantly, how much of yourself, your own humanity, are you willing to carve away piece by piece just to survive? In a land that demands so much sacrifice, but offers so little hope.
Yeah. It makes you consider those impossible choices, doesn't it? And when your whole world is twisted by something truly malevolent, can you even win without losing a fundamental part of who you are in the fight? It's a heavy question to leave you with.